Another day in another controversy, which means that all of Twitter, all of the news cycle, all of Facebook is now a flaming bleep hole. This is where we are now. Yes, it wasn't as though anyone could have predicted that life would become a turd tornado should politics make a turn in this direction. No one ever would have used that sort of language, say, a year ago, 2 years ago. But yesterday, all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose because the President of the United States has a bipartisan meeting over deferred action for childhood arrivals. Now, Trump thinks he's behind closed doors, and he thinks this is an off-the-record conversation. As Trump should know by now, when you're in a room with Democrats and or Republicans, the chances that what you say remain on background or secret are very, very slim to none. Trump apparently forgot this little problem, and so he decided to sound off about immigration. So here's what the Washington Post originally said. So they reported yesterday that Trump had been having a conversation about protecting immigrants from Haiti, El Salvador, and African countries, right? And when he was talking about El Salvador, that was particularly of interest because the Trump administration had moved to basically revoke the temporary visas for people who have been in the United States from El Salvador, 200,000 of them. They've been there for I think 15 years, and Trump revoked some of their visas. We don't know the context of the comments. It's unclear where Trump made these comments, but here is what he said. We don't know whether he was talking about the Visa Diversity Lottery Program or whether he was talking about targeted deportation of illegal immigrants from particular countries. That does make a difference because here's what Trump supposedly said. He said, quote, "Why are we having all these people from bleep hole countries come here?" Bleep is another word for poop. Okay, why are we having all these people from bleep hole countries come here? And then the Post continues, Trump then suggested that the United States should instead bring more people from countries such as Norway, whose prime minister he met with Wednesday. The president, according to a White House official, also suggested he would be open to more immigrants from Asian countries because he felt they helped the United States economically. He then reportedly continued, "Why do we need more Haitians? Take them out." So Jake Tapper reports that what he meant by that is he was specifically talking about revoking the temporary visas for Haitians who have been here after the earthquake of about 10 years ago. So that's the entirety of the comments, right? That apparently he was talking about Haiti and African countries, and he said, why are we having all these people from bleep hole countries come here? And then he said, why do we need more Haitians? Take them out. So I'm going to give you my basic take on all of this, but in light of how people have reacted to this. So there have been a bunch of reactions against these comments. Obviously, is this something that the President of the United States should be saying? Not even close. Not even close. Okay, this is not something the President of the United States should be dropping in private or public. It's kind of yucky. And not just is it yucky, the implication could be taken as racist. Now, I'm going to give you two possible reads of his comments. It's very hard to read, by the way, the second comments, why do we need more Haitians, take them out, as anything but bigoted. But those first comments, why are we having all these people from bleep hole countries come here? People are taking this to mean that he means that everyone from bleep hole countries is a bleep hole, and that's why they shouldn't come here. I'm not sure that that is fully in evidence. So there's a few reasons why people are angry today. And we'll go through why people are angry, and as we go through, you will see sort of why I think that this may be a little bit overblown, depending on how you interpret his comments. First of all, let me explain the vagary in the comments. There are two ways of interpreting this comment. Way one is he's saying there are bleep hole countries, and the people from those countries are bleep holers, and therefore they shouldn't come to the United States. This would be bigotry, right? To suggest that Haitians cannot come to the United States because Haiti's a bad country is just silly. Okay, it's just a silly idea. It's not just silly, it's bigoted, it's racist, it's counterproductive. A huge number of Haitian immigrants come to the United States and get college degrees. I believe that the statistic is something like for new African immigrants, for countries, Haiti's not in Africa, but for African immigrants, the number of people who come to the United States and get college degrees actually higher than the American population at large. Immigrant populations very often are escaping bad countries. That's the reason they're coming here. And so they know why their countries are bad, right? Look at Cuban immigrants who are coming from Cuba. Cuba's kind of a bleep hole country, according to many Cuban expatriates. That's why they're leaving. That's why they're coming here. The same thing is true of the Vietnamese boat people who left and came here because they're trying to escape the destruction of their country. So the idea that you're coming from a country that's a bleep hole and therefore you're a bleep hole is obviously racist and silly and bigoted. Right? A huge percentage of people who came over from Nazi Germany ended up being wonderful citizens of the United States, Germans and Jews alike. The same thing is true of people who are trying to escape Russian pogroms and Polish pogroms. The same thing is true of people who come from China. The vast majority of immigrants to this country are wonderful people who are trying to do hard work and enrich the country by coming here. So the suggestion that you can judge a person from the country because they're from the country is, of course, bigotry. And people who are reading Trump's comments this way have a little bit of support in the idea that Trump has said in the past, for example, that a Mexican judge could not properly judge him because he was Mexican. Right? So people are looking at Trump's track record of linking ethnicity to politics or to judgment or to capacity, and they're saying that this fits in with those comments. So that's a plausible read. Here's another plausible read, okay? And this is the one people are ignoring. The other plausible read is that Trump is saying, look, we have a diversity visa lottery program. And that diversity visa lottery program is designed to take in people by country. It doesn't evaluate them on an individual level. Now, let me backtrack for a second. My own position on immigration is if there is no welfare, if there is no social safety net, I am for free and open immigration. Whoever wants to come can come. I don't have a problem with anybody coming here so long as they're not mooching off anyone. I don't care what country they are from. I do care about cultural impact. I do care about the viewpoints they espouse, but if they're not coming here to be violent, if they assimilate to American ideology, I don't care where you are from. Okay, that said, the diversity visa lottery program is the opposite of that. The diversity visa lottery program says that we are specifically going to bring people in from downtrodden countries, from countries that don't send a lot of immigrants through the legal immigration process. We're going to go to those countries and bring in a large number of immigrants from those specific countries. Right? Originally, the diversity visa lottery program was actually designed to get more Irish immigrants into the country in 1965 because there'd been a rapid decrease in the number of Irish immigrants entering the country, and so they wanted to use the diversity visa lottery to increase the number of Irish, apparently, in 65. That shifted in 1990, and the number one beneficiary of the diversity visa lottery program are people from African countries. So here's what Trump could be saying. He could be saying, listen, if we have to judge people only by country, right, we're not going to look at them as individuals, which is really how we should do an immigration program. We should look at people and say, is this a good person or is this a bad person? Is this someone we want in the country or is this someone we don't want in the country? Right? That's the way we should do immigration always. But the diversity visa lottery program says, okay, you're from Ghana, you get in. You're from France, you don't. Right? That's really how the lottery program works. And so Trump might be saying, listen, that seems backward to me in the sense that if you were just going to take as the only descriptor the country of origin, you have to look at the country of origin, and country of origin does make a difference. It is easier, put aside race, it's easier, for example, to integrate someone from Great Britain into American ideals than it is to integrate somebody from, say, Russia in American ideals. Now, Russians are still white people, but the idea that you're coming from a government where there's no history of American ideology, that makes no difference at all. On average, it does make a difference. And I'll give you some statistics later that show that it makes a difference. But the point is this. We shouldn't be responding to the diversity visa lottery by doing what Trump said, which is bring in more people from Norway. We should be saying no diversity visa lottery because every individual should be elevated or degraded on their merits. We should have a merit-based immigration system. That's the way that we should do this. So those are the two plausible ways of reading what Trump said. Now, in a second, I'm going to explain to you all the various ways that people have taken his comments and the way that the left, I have to say, they are so stupid because they have a win here, right? If they want to hit Trump as a racist, it's not hard to get from point A to point B, but they somehow completely miss point B and they just go to point Z. It's truly crazy. I'm going to show you in just a second. Media lost their minds yesterday because they didn't just say, what Trump is saying here is that he's judging immigrants by their country of origin, and that's bigoted. There you'd have a pretty solid argument, right? You'd have a solid argument. Now, as I say, Trump could say, listen, I wasn't saying that you're judging people by their country of origin. I'm saying that if you are going to judge people by their country of origin, as the diversity visa lottery suggests, then you do have to look at the difference between the cultures of Great Britain and the cultures of, say, Russia or Spain or Greece or any other country, right? You're going to have a hierarchy of countries from which it is most likely that people are going to be easily able to assimilate. That doesn't seem completely unreasonable to me. And Trump could even say, if you look at that Washington Post story, I say as much, right? I say I want more Asian immigrants, meaning from places like South Korea, which has a very westernized country, as opposed to say Ivory Coast, right? There are certain countries where integration is going to be easier. And then you would have to provide some statistics to prove it. And we'll talk about the statistics in a little while. But that is not what the media are going nuts over. So the media have gone nuts over a few different things here. The first thing they've gone nuts over is the actual vulgarity that Trump said the word bleep hole. Now, number one, Trump said the word bleep hole behind closed doors. And I find it a little bit ridiculous that everybody in the media is saying, how dare Trump say that there are countries that are bleep holes? I've sat with a lot of these members of the media. They will call red states bleep holes. They will call their apartment a bleep hole. They will suggest that that the recycling center 2 blocks from their house is a bleep hole. The idea that you can't say the word bleep hole, that suddenly they're very offended by this, is belied by the fact that they then went on TV and decided to say the actual word bleep hole, but not bleeping it, over and over and over. So Jim Acosta went nuts yesterday, and he just decided to say bleep hole 1,000 times in a row. Again, I don't know what editorial standard is here. I know NPR has now said that they're not going to bleep it out. They're going to say shh hole, right? They're not actually going to bleep it out. They're going to say the entire word. Now, what's amazing about this is, of course, this is not the first time in American politics that people have cursed before. Before I get to the media going crazy over this, first, I want to show you, okay? You remember when Joe Biden, it was a big headline, Joe Biden said to Barack Obama that when Obamacare passed, he said on an open mic, that this is a big effing deal. Flashback, okay? Here's Biden saying that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America, Barack Obama.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so he says there, if you can't hear it, this is a big effing deal. Right? This is a big effing deal. And this was such not a big deal to people that the Democratic Party put out a T-shirt with this on it. Right? They put out a T-shirt with health reform is a BFD. I remember they sold this on the Democratic Party website. Did the media actually write out actually spell it out? Did they actually spell out the F word? Did they actually report that that's what he said, or did they bleep it out? Of course they bleeped it out, right? They bleeped it out the same way that we're bleeping it out. Same thing is true when LA Mayor Eric Garcetti swore at a King's rally. This is just a couple of years ago, right? This guy wants to run for president, and he got up and he said, this is a big effing day. Right? This is what it looked like.
But there are two rules in politics. They say never, ever be pictured with a drink in your hand and never swear. But this is a big day. Way to go, guys.
Okay, so there he is saying big effing day. Did the media print any of that? Of course they didn't print any of that. But now they're going to say S-hole over and over and over because Trump is the president. I mean, let's be clear. This is why they are changing their editorial standards. So here's Jim Acosta saying it over and over and over. We bleeped it out, but he did not bleep it.
In which the president referred to countries like Haiti and countries in Africa as a hole. Obviously, I apologize for using this word here, but this is a quote from the president. Why are we having all these people from whole countries come here?
Why are we having all these people from... You get the point.
Mm-hmm. And I notice you, Wolf, you hesitated to use that word. I hesitate to use it myself as an S-hole or hole is what the word that the Washington Post is quoting the president as saying.
Okay, I remember when they were suggesting, there was a rumor that I think it was Barack Obama directly to Jeffrey Goldberg. So he cursed about Benjamin Netanyahu, if I'm not mistaken. I think that happened as well. This new editorial standard where you only quote the curse word in order to humiliate Trump is obviously directed at Trump. Chris Cuomo, who's just an ass of epic order, he came out and he said that Trump gave this word to the world, right? No one had ever heard this word before. Trump actually originated it.
The president is just showing you who he is. This is who he is, okay? We sum it up in a word, okay? There it is. This is the gift that he decided to give the American people.
So he says the president, this is who he is. He is a bleep hole, right? This is what Chris Cuomo now says about Trump. So are they really that upset about the vulgarity? Of course they're not upset about the vulgarity. That's nonsense. Okay, that's nonsense. They don't care about the vulgarity. Now, the second thing they've become upset about, again, wildly overshooting the mark. If they want to hit Trump, they should hit him on the idea that immigrants cannot be judged by their country of origin, right? That's where they should live. They should live right there. But they're too stupid. They can't do it. It's impossible for them. So instead, the media have decided to say that there are no countries that are bleep holes. All countries are fantastic, right? There are none. All the countries are great. If you believe this, ask an expatriate from North Korea whether the country is a bleep hole. Ask an expatriate from Sudan whether they would prefer to go back. I mean, only the left could be this stupid. Seriously, you have to be a moron to fall into this particular trap, saying that there's no such thing as a bleep hole country. Right? Rich Lowry of National Review, he humiliated Joan Walsh, a CNN contributor, yesterday on the network, specifically asking her, like, you're saying that some countries are not bleep holes. Would you rather live in Haiti with its average income GDP, its average annual GDP per capita at $730 a year, its average life expectancy at 63, its literacy rate at 61%. Would you rather live there or Norway, where the average income is $62,000 a year? And watch Joan Walsh try to run screaming from this question with her hair on fire.
You know, you're really contradicting what the administration has already said. They have said the reason that they're ending these protections for Haitians and for Salvadorans specifically is that those countries are no longer basket cases and they can go back. Now, so you can't really have it both ways.
You're contradicting yourself then. So if you say they shouldn't go back because they're so dangerous, because they're so violent, which is the left position, you're saying they are basket cases. I don't have a left position. They're supposed to be temporary protected status.
Both countries have a lot of problems. And a lot of these people have lived here 10, 12, 17 years. They haven't caused trouble.
Would you rather live in Norway or Haiti?
I didn't actually interrupt you. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't been to either place. Why are you?
I don't know. Like, come on. I don't know. Of course she knows. Are you kidding? Joan Walsh probably wants to move to Norway now. That's absurd. It's absurd. And she's not the only one doing this. The worst, of course, was Stephen Colbert. So Stephen Colbert last night goes on his show, and this is clip 17, and he explains that there are no bleep hole countries except the United States. We're the only one because Trump is president.
This afternoon, he was meeting with lawmakers to discuss immigration policy. Several of these lawmakers suggested lifting restrictions for immigrants from Haiti, El Salvador, and various African countries. Trump reportedly said, why are we having all these people from whole countries come here? Wow. Sir, they're not whole countries. For one, Donald Trump isn't their president.
Okay, stop it right there. The idea that this is going to win Democrats' elections, are they insane? This is going to be their pitch? That Haiti's not a bleep hole, but the United States is a bleep hole because Trump is president? Like, what? I don't. This logic escapes me. Again, there's plenty of ways to hit Trump over these comments and plenty of reason to do so. But to live in the nobody's a bleep hole country except for the United States, I mean, good luck with that one. Good luck with that one. Also, there is something a little bit contradictory about the idea that people have to escape bad countries to come here, but we won't label the country bad in the first place, right? So Anderson Cooper yesterday talks about how he's been to Haiti and he's helping Haitian children. It's a great story, but I'm wondering, if Anderson Cooper is making the case that people from Haiti are wonderful, that's fine. But if he's making the case that Haiti is not a bleep hole country, in the sort of common parlance, that it's not a crappy place to live. I mean, obviously it is a crappy place to live, and Anderson Cooper is telling you a story about how crappy a place it is to live. Here he is.
I was there when a young girl named B, who'd been trapped in rubble for nearly a day, was rescued by people who had no heavy equipment. They just had their God-given strength and their determination and their courage. I was there when a 5-year-old boy named Monley was rescued after being buried for more than 7 days. Do you know what strength it takes to survive on rainwater buried under concrete? A 5-year-old boy buried for 7 days. Haitians slap your hand hard when they shake it. They look you in the eye. They don't blink. They stand tall, and they have dignity. It's a dignity many in this White House could learn from.
Okay, so I totally agree with everything that he's saying about Haitians. I know a lot of Haitians who are just wonderful, wonderful people. People who immigrate to this country, by and large, are wonderful people who are coming to make the country better. But if your argument is that Haiti is a great country, Haiti is not a great place to live. Okay, you just talked about a kid who was buried for 7 days under rubble. That doesn't happen in the United States. We don't get that in the United States on a regular basis. We don't have tens of thousands of people who are buried under rubble when an earthquake happens. Because America is a better place to live than Haiti. America is a better country than Haiti. Okay, and I mean that by government. It's a better governed country. And I mean that in terms of whatever cultural attributes lead to a bad governance there. That's not to suggest people can't come from Haiti and be wonderful American citizens. They can. But to suggest there are no differences between countries is just silly. It's just silly. And that's why I'm so bewildered by the tack that the media have chosen to take here. Now, in a second, I'm going to explain where the media are on more solid ground and how they are universal in their condemnation and where there's a possible read that is a little more vague than the one that they are espousing in just a second. First, now we get to the root of the matter. People who are suggesting that Trump is a racist. So the list of people in media who are saying that Trump is racist for saying this it's endless, right? It's a very, very long list. So here's just a quick montage of everybody in the media suggesting that President Trump is obviously a racist for the stuff that he said.
The President of the United States is racist.
If it's accurate, it confirms what I've said on this show before. Donald Trump is a bigot.
Yes, he speaks in a racist way.
It just shows that, the president has racist views.
Let's be real clear. This is the most racist, bigoted
Al Sharpton, my God,
comments that we've heard a president make.
But it doesn't make what he said any less ignorant or any less racist. Not racial, not racially charged, racist. Let's not kid ourselves.
This remark by the president of the United States smacks of blatant racism, the most odious and insidious racism masquerading poorly as immigration policy.
This is ignorance. This is ignorance to speak in such vile, racist terms.
We can dance around it and not really put our finger on it, but the president seems to harbor racist feelings about people of color.
Okay, and that last one is Jim Acosta. Of course, Jim Acosta is the White House press correspondent. He's not an opinion guy, right? He's supposed to be the objective news journalist. So there are a few things here. So as I have suggested, it is a plausible read that the President of the United States is saying that people from Haiti cannot properly immigrate to the United States because they are bad people because it's a bad country. That would be racist. Okay, that would be racist. It would be stupid. To say that he harbors, feelings of animosity for people of color as a whole, I think would be a little bit too broad, considering that in the same article it says that he wants more people to come in from countries like South Korea. That's full of Asian people who are not white. But that said, yes, this is I'm not going to pretend it's not a plausible read. It is a plausible read. Mia Love, who's the daughter, I believe, of Haitian immigrants, she tweeted out her statement on this. She said, "The president's comments are unkind, divisive, elitist, and fly in the face of our nation's values. This behavior is unacceptable from the leader of our nation. My parents came from one of those countries, but proudly took an oath of allegiance to the United States and took on the responsibilities of everything that being a citizen comes with. They never took a thing from our federal government. They worked hard, paid taxes, and rose from nothing to take care of and provide opportunities for their children. They taught their children to do the same. That's the American dream. The president must apologize both to the American people and to the nations he so wantonly maligned." Okay, so I think that this is a perfect statement. Honestly, I think that what Mia Love says here is essentially correct. You come here, you work hard, you play by the rules, you assimilate, you get involved in the American dream. Anyone who does that should be able to come in. And if what Trump is saying is that people should not be able to come in based on their country of origin, that's silly. Okay, that's silly. It's not just silly, it's racist. It actually is racist, and it is bigoted. But there's another plausible way to read what Trump is saying, right? The other plausible way to read what Trump is saying is for him to be saying what I said earlier, which is that if you are going to judge people alone by their country, which you should not, but that's what the diversity visa lottery program does. If you're going to judge people's merit based on just country of origin, you cannot pretend that all countries of origin are equally likely to produce the same level of assimilatable citizens. That would just be silly. It's obviously untrue. And the data support this. Right? There's a study from the Institute for the Study of Labor, December 2009. Ruth Uwaifo Oyuleri of Georgia Institute of Technology and Maharuf Oyolala, the University of Vermont. And here are their findings. Okay, their findings are, although immigrants from South America, Canada, Oceania, and Europe use any form of welfare at the same rate as U.S.-born immigrants from Asia, Africa, Central America, and U.S. protectorates, those ones use welfare more. So if you're an immigrant from Asia, Africa, Central America, or U.S. protectorates, you use welfare more. And then they actually analyzed to see whether this was just based on the level of poverty that people are when they come over to the United States, if it's based on family size. They say, we reject the hypothesis that welfare usage is identical across immigrants and U.S.-born, and also reject the related hypothesis that welfare usage is identical for immigrant groups. This result suggests that welfare usage is not affected by solely economic and standard demographics. This implies that culture, value, network information, or institution of groups might have a significant role to play in individuals' choice to use welfare. Culture, values, network information, and institutional background were not controlled for in our probability model and may explain the differential welfare usage across group despite controlling for the standard economic and demographic variables that should predict welfare usage. Birthplace matters for welfare usage in the U.S. This is their conclusion. Birthplace matters for welfare usage in the U.S. Now, that's not, again, to imply that where you were born means that inevitably you're going to use welfare. That's silly and racist. It doesn't mean that as individuals we can judge you based on your country of origin. It does mean that if you are going to say, we get to now take in 10,000 immigrants, those 10,000 immigrants are either going to come from South Korea or they're going to come from Russia, right? An Asian country, or they're going to come from with a history of Western civilization, or Russia, where there is very little history of Westernization, right? Which one are you going to choose? And you can only choose one. You're just going to do it based on the country description. Then you would probably say, I'd want the South Korean citizens and not necessarily the Russian citizens if you were going to create a hierarchy of people who are able to assimilate easily in the United States. That's not a rip on individual Russians. Right? My ancestors were from Russia. My great-grandparents came over from Lithuania, right? The idea that it doesn't matter at all where you came from in terms of the average, if you're doing it simply by numbers, is obviously not true. But the idea that you can judge individuals based on this is racist, right? This is the same thing as saying that the black crime rate in the United States is higher than the white crime rate in the United States. This is true. But it is racist to say that a black person, this black individual right here, is going to commit crime because he is black, right? That's not the same thing. And that distinction is important. You can say that on average, people who come from sub-Saharan African countries are going to have a tougher time integrating and assimilating into the United States than people coming from Great Britain. But that's not racist. But it is racist to say this particular person from Sudan cannot assimilate because they're from Sudan. That's racist, okay? So that distinction makes a difference. And I don't know that Trump knows enough to actually make that distinction. I don't know if he does. Maybe he doesn't. I mean, the implication, as I've said before, his history shows that he said stuff like a Mexican judge meaning a judge who is descended from Mexican parents, right, can't properly judge his case because they're Mexican. Like, there are cases where Trump has sounded really bad and racist, and if you read these comments in the context of those comments, it's hard to avoid the conclusion the media want you to draw. But I would like more evidence on what actually happened in this conversation, because all I'm hearing is secondhand. I don't have a full transcript in front of me, and I am shy of jumping on the media's account of a secondhand conversation that was being related by Democrats. I think that to do that would be unfair. I hope that I would hold the same standard for the Obama administration or for any other politician, for that matter. So, yeah, again, should Trump have said this? No. Should he clarify what he meant? Absolutely. Should he walk it back as much as he can? He absolutely should. But the left's suggestion that there's no such thing as a bleep hole country is silly. The left's suggestion that they're angry because he cursed is silly. And the left's suggestion that the only way to read that comment is simply in terms of Donald Trump is saying that every immigrant from Haiti is bad because they're black. I think that requires a logical jump, at least. Maybe that jump is real. Maybe that's what Trump is thinking. But there's a lot of mind reading going on, and I think that mind reading is not necessarily guaranteed to be correct.